Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Ranty Flat Earth, Sleeping Warrior, Arwin, and The Plain Truth. Good to have you all.
Yo.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
No.
Anybody?
Not on the Earth?
Any signs of Earth-based axial rotation?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Any evidence for the distance to the sun?
Nope.
Nope.
There is no distance to the sun.
Correct.
Right. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I watched an amazing video. I put it in the Master B chat. This guy demonstrated that mass attracts mass. He put a heavier ball on a trampoline and he spun a smaller ball around, and the masses attracted each other. I couldn't believe it.
What?
It was,
You're not telling me that the weight of the bowling ball was attracting it, caused like bending the fabric a little bit?
Yes, I saw it. No, I saw it. The masses attracted each other.
No, you're getting totally confused. That's the bending of space fabric trampoline.
Yeah. That's not a gravitational force of attraction commonly described by either Einstein or Newton. It's the trampoline.
It was metaphorical.
Listen, just stop talking. Stop talking right now. The guy who put the video out said, this is a demonstration of mass attracting mass. And it was real. And it's happened.
Okay, don't get excited.
I am excited because I never thought I would see something like that.
Well, I hope that the ballers out there jump all over that the way I did about this stupid stuff about water not being hydrogen and oxygen, and tell the guy that that is not gravity. Somebody out there, be a responsible baller and put that guy out of his misery.
Look, let's not condemn it too quickly. Look, if someone can show me the hypothesis and the experimentation that went along with it, then it might be scientific proof of gravity, for all we know.
I don't even need that. It was just amazing.
Excellent. Any evidence of a gas pressure without a container?
Yeah, never.
Nope.
Nope.
It's never
Really?
gonna happen.
Shock horror. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
Really? Seriously?
I saw one once,
Nope.
but then
Cartoon, by chance?
The deepest they've dug, Nathan, is only 8 miles.
Oh, well, that obviously means I won't get measured radius, but what about scientific evidence of radius?
No.
No? No evidence of the presupposition of the R value? Really? Shock horror.
Nope.
Alright, well, that concludes our housekeeping, unless you want to ask for evidence of Bill Miller or M. Scott Veach.
We found Bill Miller.
Free Bill Miller! Right, well, that's it. That's housekeeping done then.
So, Soundly's made a hangout in the last 24 hours. Have you seen it?
Soundly has. Right, okay. No.
I'm not a subscriber, but tell us all about it.
Basically, he claims that Jose's gone and validated his observation and basically verified it and repeated it.
I validated it. I validated it from the UK yesterday.
No, seriously, that's what he's telling people.
Yeah, I did too.
How?
What do you mean, how?
How is that supposed to validate?
Well, he's told people in his hangout that he says, thank you very much for Jose Gonzalez. He said he's went out and he's spent the time, and fair play. I mean, he deserves a pat on the back. He's done it. But he claims that he's validated his own observation. And I'm like, what do you mean he's validated your observation, Stanley? What are you talking about? He hasn't validated your observation at all in any way. Your observation was curvy as hell, makes it look like we're on a basketball, and it looks like it's been coloured in with crayons. But Jose's looks like it's been recorded on a camera, and it's flat, and it doesn't show any bendiness whatsoever. But it does show a little bit of obstruction at the horizon, which we can all see is mirrored. And whatever the cause of that is, and whatever we call it, it's not the curvature of the Earth that's being obstructed. What's obstructing it is some atmospheric or optical effect. And you're telling people that Jose has validated your work. And I call bullshit, Soundly. Why would you tell people that? It's complete and utter lies. I played you 3 clips in the hangout from yesterday where Jose said nothing of the sort. In fact, he said the opposite. But for some reason, Soundly's telling all his subs that Jose's validated his observation, and I'm thinking, what an utter liar.
So
now, again, I'm going to ask, are there any ballers out there that are going to go and correct him and say, actually, he's not saying that soundly. You should pull that video down because it's not true. So where's the integrity with the ballers? Presumably, no one's going to say anything, and once again, they're all going to be made to look like liars.
So in the chat, we've got 3 links. They're all the same, of a video by My Perspective or Rory Cooper, where he analyses Soundly's video. So check that out. I've put the link in the chat feed, so that's there running by now.
I noticed Simon Dan released a video this morning about Mark Sargent this time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I've just finished and I'm actually rendering a video now to pick a couple of points up on what he was saying, so just thought I'd point that out. He's just full of shit, as usual.
Give us the broad strokes. What was he saying?
He went through his 5 points. He was asking what were the 5 points. You know, Mark Sargent has 5 points that he wants a scientist to answer. And Simon Dan reckons that he can answer all 5 of them. Well, he doesn't at all. For instance, the moon shadow. Mark Sargent says during the eclipse, the moon shadow was only 70 miles wide. How is this possible on a globe model? Simon Dan's answer to that was to not talk about the size of the shadow, but to talk about we can calculate the distance to the moon.
I can guarantee there won't be any science in his answer.
No.
No science, no evidence, just his perception. I don't know. I don't. So, what is this? His most recent video?
Yeah, he released it this morning, so I saw it and I was immediately taken aback by his lack of answers to the question. So
again, he's failed to answer the question. So, like with me, when I asked him how do we get the distance to the sun, I didn't want the rhetoric. I wanted the evidence, and he came back with radars to Venus. I was like, right, but I already knew that. Where's the proof? And he didn't give us any proof. He just told us that radars to Venus was the answer. Well, he didn't answer the question then, and if he's not answered the question again now with Mark, gotta wonder what's going on with this gent.
Hey,
well, he hasn't. It's like point 1 was. Hello, was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, point 1 was something to do with boats in the distance being brought back into view. And he goes on to talk about things like, this is Mark Sargent talking about we can see much further than we should be able to, etc., etc. That was the point. He was also talking about boats in the distance. He made an arbitrary 50-mile remark about boats being 50 miles away that you can bring back.
Mark Sargent made 50-mile observation. Is that what you just said?
No. He claimed that you can bring boats back up to 50 miles away.
Mark Sargent said that.
I believe so. Yeah, I think that's how it came across in the way he presented it. But reading through the lines, we know what he meant. That boats can be brought back, but also you can see for 50, 60, 70 miles. But he didn't, the way he said it and presented it was more like, he was talking about the boat. So Simon Dan clearly picked up on that and said he's never seen a boat being brought back over 50 miles over the water, which, to be fair, I mean, I don't think anybody has. I think the chances of that actually happening would be impossible just due to the atmospherics and the narrow angle that you'd have to be viewing it at. However, we do see an awful lot further than we should, and that was the point. The point was that, not the boat.
Can you turn your speakers down a bit, Anthony? You're causing feedback.
So essentially, he's just misrepresenting and he's cherry picking, and You know, I mean, he's avoided answering questions that he should be answering, and he's called it a debunking his top 5 flat Earth proofs, which it is
Hey,
nothing of the
Drake,
sort.
can you hear us? Hello?
Who? Me?
Drake.
Delta.
Hello?
Yeah. What's up, man?
Good to have
Yo.
you. How you doing?
Let me just respond to that. Simon Dan, if you want to see a video of a boat being pulled back from over the horizon that can't be seen with the naked eye, go and look up Empty the Philadelphia. It's spelt a little bit weird, so you may struggle to find it straight away. But it's made by a person called Empty the Philadelphia, and the video is called Analyzed, How Boats Vanish Over the Horizon. And it's Empty the Philadelphia, spelt weird. But type in Analyzed How Boats Vanish Over the Horizon, and you'll find
Ginger.
Anthony, do the first part of the Philadelphia again. Do it.
Analyzed How Boats Go. How?
No, the first part of the name of the channel.
Hang on.
Hello.
Man, we're getting filled up.
It's not me with the noise.
Hey,
Hello?
Louis. Hey, Louis.
Hello?
Hey, Nami.
Hey, guys, what's up?
Sky,
Anthony,
stars,
so
sun.
just what's the first part of the Philadelphia of the channel? Michael something.
No,
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll put it on screen because it is spelt weird.
Okay.
Nathan, if you wouldn't mind presenting.
You're on.
So, analysed how boats vanish over the horizon. This is one video of about 50 videos, Simon Dan, where you cannot see beyond the horizon, but when you get your zoom out, you can then pull boats back that are not in the picture. Another one I can think off the top of my head was the guy that can't remember what the guy's name is. The guy that left Flat Earth altogether, and the baller said that he joined the ball side, and he's never been
Matrix
seen again.
Decode?
Not Simon, not Thingy Dan.
Matrix
not Tiger Dan,
Decode?
it's the other guy.
Tiger
The
Dan?
one,
Tiger
Nathan, the
Dan?
one that was talking to Zoe.
Tiger Dan?
No, I think I've got his video on here actually. So this is one example, but another good example is
Matrix Decode?
Pardon?
Matrix Decode?
Yes, Matrix Decode. He's got videos of boats disappearing over the horizon too. There's loads of them. There's loads of ones that disappear over the horizon. But I want to know how you can have a molten iron core once the Curie point of iron's been achieved. Simon Dan, what's the science for that? Crazy guy.
Anthony, he was picking up the 50-mile claim, so it wasn't that boats can be brought back. Which, you know, I've got plenty of videos of that myself. You know, of not being able to see a boat and zooming in and seeing it again. But he was picking up on his 50 miles, which when Mark said it, it did sound like he was referencing bringing boats back 50 miles away over the curvature of the Earth. But I think that got misrepresented in the way he was saying it, and he picked up on that, and he used that 50-mile claim, saying we have never seen a boat being brought back over 50 miles, which I don't think it's possible for that to happen. But yes, we can bring a boat back that's 12 or 15 miles away, you know, that should have long gone over the curve easily.
Hold on. There's people who have got lasers, pencil-thin lasers on ships at 60 miles.
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you be able to show that?
If they can get direct line of sight with a laser to shoot it and bring it down, then you've got line of sight with it. Actually, I'm going to stand corrected. It might be 60 kilometers. So, yeah, before anyone pulls me up on that. I'm ill. Leave me alone.
Anyway, I was talking to this guy today who's done some drone footage in and around Barrow. Would you like to see some? Because I've got permission to share it.
Up to.
Right, okay. I'm going to show you the... hide that. This is going to be the Lighthouse. So there's always been claims about this lighthouse. And, you know, I've said we can see the chimneys behind the sand dune, yeah? And they go, well, you can't see the base. You can't see the base. Well, I say, well, there's a sand dune in the way. And this video is just going to prove that absolutely perfectly. He's coming into land. So what we're looking at here, in this direction over on the left, is the viewing angle that I will have, or slightly behind him, sort of like this direction. There's the Irish Sea. Here's the lighthouse, which you can see it. I want you to pay attention to this hill that's starting to rise up here. This is the sand dune that goes around the side of it to protect it from the Irish Sea. And there's the house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this sand dune when it appears to fall in line with the horizon up here. And we'll compare it to how high the house is. So as he's lowering his drone, he's coming down. Now the sand dune is rising up. And if I pause it just there, you see that's pretty much level with the horizon. But look at the house. That's pretty much level with the horizon too. And you've just got the two little chimney stacks sticking up at the top. So my line of sight, which would intersect this wall, this sand dune, would allow me to only see the chimneys and the top of the actual lighthouse. And I can show you on this image, this video here, the same thing. So this isn't the best video that I could have found, but we've got the two chimneys, one chimney there, one chimney there. There's the lighthouse, and the brown underneath is the sand dune that's in the way from my line of sight. Proving that we're actually seeing perfectly down to the bottom.
There's your beach. 18 miles. Screw you, Globers. Flat as.
Flat as.
Is Anthony still here?
Awesome. Anthony, yeah, he should be still here, yeah.
I'm the Southern Israelite. He contacted me the last few days, wanted to talk to me, and we've been back and forth commenting, and he wanted to talk to me about something. I'm here if he wants to talk to me about something else.
We'll give him a tug when he comes off mic and remind him, but he's on mute. Maybe he's on a phone call or gone to get... Oh, there we go.
What was that? I missed it.
Southern Israelites come to say hello. You've been trying to get in touch with him?
I have. I wanted to find out the issue on light. He was talking with, I can't remember whether it was Jared Buto or Red's Rhetoric, but you were talking about Fermat and how he interacted with light, with his interpretations and his evidences. And I got sidetracked and interrupted, but I wanted to know what was the position with regards to the conclusion on the Fermat's principle on light, or what's the conclusion on light? Was it Euclidean?
I referenced like 12 books on the history of geometry, non-Euclidean geometry, Euclidean geometry. I referenced all Morris Klein's works on Fermat, and I never saw anything even remotely close that said that Fermat created a theory of refraction based on Euclidean geometry. Every reference that I have says exactly the opposite. It's
linear.
It all says that every reference that I have says that Euclid's elements and Euclid's optics do not take into account atmospheric refraction. I have Morris Klein stating that surveyors can't use Euclidean geometry because they have to take into account atmospheric refraction. I got Percy Brigman stating that optical theories regarding light are not Euclidean. I mean, every academic resource I have says that atmospheric refraction cannot be taken account for with Euclidean geometry. It all has to be non-Euclidean.
I agree. So was that point accepted in the end?
No, man. They just wanted to like do an appeal to intimidation on like how much geometry I knew and stuff, and like they would not like face the documents that I presented. And that was in the non sequitur debate I had the other day. And but I mean, I made a video to Jared a couple days ago because he was the one that brought it up. And no doubt it was just he was just probably reading something from some side chat. Whenever I debate these guys, they've always got like some football team on side chat waiting like to help them, along in the conversation. And,
are you aware about what happened with GeoStreamer Soundly and Sean Hufford?
Am I aware of all those guys? Yeah, I'm aware of all those. Yeah.
Are you aware that GeoStreamer was caught getting coached by Soundly, and basically Sean came in to muddy the waters? But for everybody else that hears it, it's blatantly obvious that Geo's being fed by Soundly, but they've got to make out in some way that there's some other plausible explanation, which they claim is it's me playing the hangout. And it just so happens to coincide and make it sound like a coincidence that it sounds like a coherent conversation. Yeah. Obviously, I call bullshit. But my point is that they've actually been caught being fed. When you said then that there's like a football team in the background Well, that's exactly what GeoStreamer had. He didn't really have a football team, but he did have external help. So we now have evidence that they do exactly that thing.
Oh yeah, it's pathetic. I mean, I think it's kind of fun personally. I don't really take offense to it. I think it's fun that like I get to go up against all these people myself. I take it as a challenge, but like it's just pathetic that they have to like get all this help from people on side chat and stuff. I think it's just pathetic. But you know, whatever.
What I wanted to show you whilst you're on, Nathan, would you mind presenting my screen?
Yeah, sure.
I have a couple of papers that I want to show you.
Okay.
And I don't know whether you're familiar or not, and if you're not, I'll give you a copy of them because they're really good. Go with this one first. Right, this is with regards to refraction. I'm going to make it a bit bigger, so bear with me.
I got it.
With regards to the light refracting, this talks not so much about light refracting in air. It's talking about the individual refractive indices of water vapor, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, basically our atmosphere, but it's split into the components, the constituent elements. So it talks about the refraction between the constituent elements. And it's complicated, but basically what it talks about is another way of measuring the effect of refraction on atmospheric air. And the conclusion of it is that it's negligible. There's the key word, negligible. This document's worth citing and worth having a read. It's measured in a different way, and it's using a unit that I'm not familiar with, to be honest, and I don't really understand the units of it. But the point of the overall conclusion is that the effects of refraction in the atmosphere is basically nothing. It's so small it's not worth considering. So that's one document. The other document I want to show you is this one. This is to do with a group of computer engineers, and what they were trying to do was simulate refraction on a computer game. And to do this, they had to take into account some considerations for what is refraction already. And one of the citations that they give in here, which I always cite, but again, it says the word negligible. On the trajectory of light, it talks about when light passes from one non-homogeneous, blah, blah, blah. It's worth talking. It's worth reading, but under standard circumstances, the effects are negligible. So there's another citation to do with the trajectory of light through refractive mediums basically being nothing.
What are the distances?
Sorry to interrupt you guys. Can you just stress the importance of what you've just said? I know you had it highlighted. Just repeat it and stress the importance to an audience member who may not have been keeping along with what you've been talking about and understand the relevance and significance to what you've just said, because it's very important.
Well, on the Metabunk curve calculator, they use 7.6 times the radius of the Earth to be a general catch-all phrase for refraction, right? Which basically makes an arc. It's a geometric arc. And light doesn't travel in arcs, light travels in straight lines. But they argue that because it's non-homogeneous and it's isotropic, it means that it can be an arc, and it's always an arc down. But we know that the effect Soundly himself shows on his little Tensus Bayou observation that light bends up as well as down, not always down. But it said this is a second citation that states that under standard or normal circumstances, the effects of refraction are negligible. Now, what this means is under standard circumstances. So what I'll do is I'll pull up his Mega Flump curve calculator to show you what I'm referring to. Metaflump.
Hey, could you that last link that you had? Could you share that in chat?
Yeah, I will do. I'll give you all three of them at the end of it.
Yeah.
So standard refraction is supposed to be based on. So standard refraction is supposed to be based on. Somebody's got.
You need to mute your watch page before you join, but good to have you anyway. Music.
So under standard circumstances, the effects are negligible, right? Under these standard circumstances, the effects are negligible. Well, on his standard refraction citation on his website, he claims it's an approximation of the refraction expected under average. Oh, he's changed it. Under average or standard atmospheric conditions. And then he links this phrase here, standard atmospheric conditions. Now, we're looking for 7.6R, but in this citation that he gives, the variables that are he's basing his 7.6R on are based on this part of the maths, the model. And you have absolute temperature, you have altitude, you have pressure and density, and you have to simultaneously solve the equations that relate to two parts of it, which gives you a continuous variable like what we see in Skunk Bay. But what he's saying is that he's basing his standard refraction based on this But in this document, it doesn't mention 76R, which of course is a geometric curve. This is based on basically these variables here, and he claims that it's based on this document. It's clearly not. There's not the word radius is not mentioned in here at all.
I just summarised that as well. Sorry. So if you scroll up to this, sorry, go back to the page you were on a second ago, Anthony. If you just click the link for standard atmospheric conditions. So this is a standard atmosphere. That's what's being detailed. Now, what's being used in the Metabunk calculation is terrestrial refraction, specifically terrestrial refraction. 7/6 of the presupposition of R. That's what terrestrial refraction is. By having this link, it makes it sound like it's all based on atmospheric conditions. It isn't. It's called terrestrial refraction, and it is 7/6 of the radius of Earth. That's all it is.
And the radius, of course, is not mentioned anywhere in this document. So the four variables that are like in the maths here for the standard atmosphere, he claims that 7/6 times R is what this is based on. So he's given a citation for what he claims 7/6R is based on. But when you look into it, there's no mention whatsoever of a radius or even the 7/6R. But he says flippantly, well, it's just an approximation. Well, no, it's not based on anything. You plucked it out your ass. So that's.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go on.
Can I ask a question for clarification?
Yeah, go
on. Nathan, what you just said then in my mind is that when we're talking about refraction atmospheric, we're talking about that effect of the atmosphere on the travel of light and the ability to see that. When you're talking about 7/6, you're saying it's the curve of the Earth that is causing the refraction. Am I interpreting what you're saying? The distinction between those two things. One is a natural phenomenon, which is real. The other one is based on 7/6R and is not atmospheric, but terrestrial because the Earth is what is curving. Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, spot on.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add something, which is that, you can argue these papers all you like, but is there any actual physical evidence that there's any refraction within the atmosphere? Because in order to have refraction, you need an angle of incidence according to Snell's law. And all of the refraction...
Snell's law doesn't actually apply in the atmosphere.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying that I think that, hey, just let me finish. Something to consider is that all of the so-called refraction that we see in the atmosphere is very close to the surface, which I think indicates that it's more likely that we're seeing diffraction than refraction. Is there any actual experiments, tests, or anything that can demonstrate that there's any refraction in air?
Yeah.
There is? What?
I wouldn't say experiment's the right word, but we can observe the effects of refraction.
How do you know it's refraction?
Because you can see it. Watch.
But how do you know it's not diffraction?
Well, the refraction is generally accepted to be the distortion or the bending of light, and we can see in the Skunk Bay footage that at the beginning of the day, at like 8:59, 9 o'clock in the morning, the effects of refraction are quite small. We don't really see that much of them. But by dinner time,
do you understand what I'm saying? Is that all the effects that you're seeing of that kind are close to the surface?
Sure, but this is moving in the picture.
That indicates the fact that we don't see refraction high up in the sky ever is an indication that what we're seeing, causing.
No, that's because there's nothing really to see, really, up in the sky.
That's not
true. It has to be
true.
clear enough to even see that far. So, yeah, what's going to be bending all over the place? The blue sky?
Have you guys seen Steve Torrance's demonstration of putting a plane of stars on a flat Earth and then adding atmosphere, and it divides them into two?
I have.
Okay.
That's the one where you got the sliding. It's got like a vertical bar that moves up and down. One's with refraction, one's without, and it's basically one catches the other up.
Yeah, he shows how if you add the you start in Cinema 4D with a plane, an Earth plane, and then you put a plane of stars over it, and then you add in the atmosphere. The stars break up into two different systems of rotation. One's going clockwise, one's going counterclockwise.
It's just a simulation. And what I'm saying is that without an angle of incidence, how can you have refraction?
Can I just add something? Sorry, Anthony. Just to
media.
Sorry, just to add one more thing to what Nummy's saying. We're seeing the tide rise and fall, right? Therefore, we are seeing a limitation on our viewing angle as the day progresses in that Skunk Bay footage. So you could easily argue that it was diffraction causing those effects as opposed to refraction. And I think I agree with Nummy.
Yeah, I'd also like to say, just to address what Arwen's criticism of what I'm saying is that, yeah, there's plenty to see in the sky. There's planes, balloons, clouds. We should see refraction of clouds. We would never see refraction of clouds. Never. I'm saying all these so-called refraction effects.
How would you know?
How would you know? Because you could similar kinds of photography of those time lapses and things like that.
The clouds are not fixed.
That's true. Okay, well,
how
about
a measurable reference?
One last thing. Let me just finish off with Southern Israelite. The third paper that I often cite states that as a result, ignore the first bit, it just says light traveling in the atmosphere will undergo refraction and the traveling path will deviate from a straight line. Well, we know that Fermat's principle is based on the trajectory of light being from straight. Basically, it says that light travels in straight lines and it'll take the path of the least amount of time to get there. So it goes in a straight line. It doesn't go in an arc. This is another paper that states that line is linear. It's not following a geometric curve of any kind. It's not based on a curve. It's straight. Light travels in straight lines according to their model. But they apply Mick Weston, the refraction nonsense is based on a curve. So when I was listening to you talking with whoever it was that you were talking to, you were making the same points about what we've all been talking about for a while. But I wanted to know, what was the conclusion of that point? Because in the end I got sidetracked. But my point is that light does go in straight lines. You were right to argue it. If these documents are of any use to you, I'll pass them all over to you because it all talks about light going in a straight line. There's no arcs.
Well, as far as the debate, when I was talking to Jared and Steve about it, was that Fermat's principle was based on Euclidean geometry and that it accounts for atmospheric refraction.
Who said that? Did they say that, or did you say that?
Jared said that. I didn't.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not true.
I think you should challenge these people to prove that it's refraction and not diffraction that they're seeing, because I think that this whole refraction conversation is just one giant mislead.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but the point in question
No. Hold on, Nami. Diffraction only happens when you look over a surface.
That's right.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen up there. So any miraging effects or obstruction for foreground things, that is diffraction. But that doesn't mean that there is just general bending going on. It's just very little.
Yeah, but
and this is even officially admitted. It's insignificant.
No, but Arwen, I'm saying, there's no angle of incidence. Do you understand what an angle of incidence is?
Sure, but listen, guys, this is a tangent.
Are you saying that diffraction doesn't work at all in any sorts if it's just in a non-regular medium like air with perhaps some moisture in it and extra heat at certain locations, that there is no refraction of any kind going on? Because we can measure refraction very easily when the medium changes from air to glass to water, for example. You can see very quickly, but there's still some going on.
No, I think refraction
in a singular medium, but it's very slight.
No, if you look at what can be measured in refraction by Snell's law, the law of refraction, that you need a surface. You need an angle.
No, that's diffraction. That's
refraction. I'm saying that you need to go from like air to glass to water to get what's called refraction.
Right, yeah, that's right. Listen, that it's a tangent. The point is light Euclidean or is it linear? That's the point that I was trying to address. And I agree with Southern Israelite. There is no evidence that it's Euclidean. It is all based on straight lines. So if they're certain that it's Euclidean, it's not. These three documents do not support that position. So I just wanted to offer them to him, but I can't get in touch with him because he has comments disabled on his videos, and we can't send messages within.
No, I put the comments on. I put the comments up again. I just wanted a few days of break from those lunatics, dude. They're just like a pack of hounds, and I just wanted a few days of a break from them. And I put the comments available again. They're up again.
Yeah, well, what I'll do is I'll drop these three in the back chat in Hangouts, yeah?
Yeah, it's fine.
And then to just pick from, but all three of them don't support Euclidean geometry for refraction. They're all linear, and it's negligible as well. So it's like they're exaggerating this claim of refraction, and they're also fundamentally flawed on what basis they base it on. It's not based on Euclidean geometry. It's not at all. It's complete nonsense.
Yeah, I thought I always have to keep in mind that their tactics during debates and stuff. Like I should have called Jared on that. I should have asked him for a citation immediately, because I told him, I'm like, dude, I got an applied optics journal here. I've got Morris Klein, who's probably the greatest philosopher of mathematics to ever live. He's all saying exactly what I'm saying, and they're saying I'm wrong. I'm like, there's no way. I'm sorry.
No. All the evidence supports it being linear.
Yeah.
Do you not find that as we've seen the same thing on the debate? So, for example, with George Netanyahu, if I could say it with a cold, can't say it in the best of days, but he was basically defying what the Coriolis effect is and introducing third reference frames for the bullet or ball or plane, just so it ties in with the narrative. So he's literally defying the Wikipedia example and the standard rhetoric, not even rhetoric, the standard accepted understanding of Coriolis, just because it doesn't fit with the narrative of the ball Earth. So it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that, did you say it was Steve that was doing that? Who did you say was doing it? Jared. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. They will literally go against the standard narrative if it doesn't fit with the ball, which for me
that's what they're doing with refraction.
Yeah, indeed.
What I just want to say
where
is that
where are you putting the documents? I'm sorry. I'm in chat right now. I don't see the documents in chat.
No, it's not letting me send them because they're not pictures. If you open up, are you in the back chat and Google, or are you in? Or
No,
give me
I'm
an
from the
email
side
address. The reason why these documents are valuable, mate, is because although they may exist in other places online, two of them were MIT documents that were cited on a university website, and M. Scott Veach basically didn't like them. He took issue with them, and I said, well, go and put in a complaint and see if you can get them removed. And literally the next day, one of them was gone, and the following day, the second one was gone. So they don't seem to exist now. But if they do exist, they're not where I know where to find them. So they're valuable in that you can't get them easily anymore. So if you send me, if you put an email address,
I put it in side chat right now. I put my email address in side chat.
In the side, when you say side chat, do you mean the green chat?
Hangout side chat.
If you go to the Hangout link and you hit the blue chat option at the top left, the
Hangout chat.
Hangout chat, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it again. We need to get this stuff written down in presentable papers. The stuff that we're talking about, this stuff can't just be on audio. We have to have it down. Argument, proposition, conclusion.
I'm under the impression there needs to be a complete non-Euclidean geometry just developed from this. Like I don't see how, and maybe somebody has already written it. They probably have. But I'll study the issue, but I think that a complete new geometry needs to be written. Euclid's wrong, man. I'm sorry.
Can you explain why? There's going to be people who listen to this who haven't got the vaguest idea what you're talking about. So can you give us the dumbed down version for a 15-year-old so that the audience understands?
Well, first of all, is the idea of Euclidean space. That's number one. I mean, we're clearly not living in space. We don't breathe space. It's nonsense. We're not living in space. Secondly, is the idea of like trying to represent the lines of geometric dimensions as if they're light rays. Like that concept. Morris Klein goes into detail on that in his mathematics for non-mathematicians. How it's ridiculous to use Euclidean geometry as a surveyor and think that rays of light are representative of the lines that you're seeing in geometric dimensions. And I need myself to write study this more and read about it more. It's extremely complicated.
Yeah, I would say that try to look at proofs for these propositions as well. You know, like I say, like I have never seen any evidence that there's any refraction within the atmosphere. People always just cite papers and talk about all these optical theories, but I've never actually seen any kind of test or proof of that idea. And if you look at the description of Snell's law, it says, formula used to describe the relationship between the angles of incidence and refraction when referring to light or other waves passing through a boundary between two different isotropic media. So if you have no boundary, you have no angle of incidence. So if you just have a gradient in some sort of medium like air, which is mostly empty space, apparently, that you can't identify the angle of incidence, and therefore you can't trace any kind of refractive process. Doesn't make sense, right? And really what we see is that the optical distortions we see are always close to a surface, indicating that it's probably diffraction, and that this whole terrestrial refraction thing might just be a complete error or disinformation that's meant to lead us away from understanding what we're seeing. Generally speaking, it's all there to just.
It is disinformation because I believe I've come across people that have researched this completely independently. It's just hearsay, basically, but it seems that there is some very minor refraction going on, but it's simply not even close to what is actually required for some kind of terrestrial R-based refraction.
Okay, but
I've
Arwen,
even had people here in the back chat. It was offline, but they were, they were.
But Arwen, what I'm saying is that according to the definition of refraction, if we can't identify the boundary, then we can't identify an angle of incidence. And if you don't have those conditions, then how can you claim it's refraction and not something else, like diffraction, right? So you want to present
requires a surface.
Yeah, well, there's the surfaces of the moles themselves, right?
What?
Like there's the surfaces of the molecules in the air that are causing, like, what we talked before about scintillation, right? So what's causing?
Diffraction is very specific. It's a specific effect. It requires a solid surface. Doesn't work with droplets. That's not diffraction. Diffraction specifically has to do with obstruction, basically.
It depends on what you think is the cause of diffraction, whether it's that it has to do with the electrical properties of the material that light is passing close to, right? That's probably the real cause of what
it is defined by the surface.
I'm saying, is there some kind of test that you could do that would prove that it was? I don't understand how you can claim refraction if you can't identify an angle of incidence and a boundary. How can you claim that it's refraction if you can't identify those aspects of the?
Because all you have to do is spin a good enough explanation that it sounds good.
No. I know you're being facetious, Travis, but no, you can't is the answer. You can't. That's the bottom line, Nummy. You can't. And that's not what they do anyway. They apply terrestrial refraction, a very specific thing that simply applies 7.6R. Has sod all to do with anything.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that even to invoke refraction at all seems very dubious, considering if you can't identify an angle of incidence and a boundary.
I agree. I completely agree.
All right, Anthony, thanks for the documents. I got them. I'm going to bed. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Good night.
Thanks for joining.
Going to bed. Where is he?
Australia, probably.
It sounds like he's in the United States. Maybe he stayed up all night doing.
Yeah, he's a Southern Israelite, so that's, I think, a reference to also the South, because he's got a rebel flag in his icon.
Is that was not was? Hello.
Wizlaw.
Hello.
Wizlaws. Hey.
Wizlaws.
He's not a troll.
Don't whiz on the electric fence. That's the Wizlaw.
Yeah, let's kick him out if it's just a troll. Hopefully we haven't lost half the panel.
You sure?
Fascinating conversation.
Yeah, I find this one interesting because this refraction thing it seems very unclear, seems very muddy, but people talk about it and use it to make various arguments, and you can find all of these, people end up arguing documents rather than arguing evidence, but I think that I would like to see the whole thing broken down to just, can we prove that there's any refraction within a medium without a boundary, without an angle of incidence? I don't know. To me, it doesn't make any sense because the whole definition of refraction depends on those variables, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely on the same page as you, Nummy.
Yeah, I just would like to put, I put that out there numerous times, but it's just, I think it's very important that to consider that for people, because I think this refraction thing ends up just getting, it just muddies the waters of the conversation endlessly on both sides.
Yeah, and I think that's why they called it terrestrial refraction, because they could just shorten that to refraction, and then it completely muddies the waters. Everyone thinks you're looking for refraction, and like you say, there's no change in medium.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the specific angle of the boundary is going to determine the effects of the refraction, right? So it's like if like one air mass was at a 45-degree angle to another air mass, you would get a completely different effect than if it was if there was like the boundary was at 90 degrees relative to the ground. So you would get all kinds of weird effects that we don't at all see. Right. What we see is what they call this negligible amount of refraction is actually more likely to be like molecular diffraction, I think. Like, what they call
No, you have no proof that diffraction even works like that. Diffraction is defined by looking past surfaces. That is how it has been established.
Yeah, I'm assuming that there's surfaces of molecules.
No.
There's no surface of a molecule?
That you have no proof that there is.
Well, how about if we take water molecules in the air and then we condense them into water? So
yeah, then it's not a singular molecule. It's very simple.
Okay, but don't you think the molecule is probably a physical object occupying some amount of space?
You have no proof that it is.
Okay, so
you can only deduce it through chemistry.
So okay, you're right, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think of that. I think it's not. I'm just saying, yeah, okay. So there's this possibility that it's diffraction and not refraction.
Science fiction. It is attributing an ability to something that, you can't prove has any relation to that.
So what you're saying,
diffraction is established surface.
You're saying molecules don't physically exist. That when water evaporates,
you can't prove it. It is just like Einsteinian gravity. Okay, you have no proof that it's even related. So good luck with it.
It's not like Einsteinian gravity.
Yeah, it is. You can't
it isn't.
prove it.
Okay, but you're not going to let me actually make an argument, are you? Because
you made your arguments pretty clear.
No, I was about to
speculate that it can be diffraction on a molecular level. Every molecule could be slightly diffracting, but you have no proof that diffraction is even related to that, because there's always a solid surface involved in diffraction in the official version of it. So it's just complete out there speculation.
Comes down to it's not always a solid surface either. It could be a liquid surface.
A surface that is distinguishable.
Yeah, okay. I don't
observable. Everything with observation.
Yes, you don't have an argument either. It's not like you can.
I have an argument against your argument.
Well, you just argued to argue, rather than
you do. No, I'm just saying. No, you're wrong. This is complete speculation out of nowhere.
Doesn't mean I'm wrong. I can acknowledge what aspects of it are speculation, but I'm saying that the idea of refraction in the atmosphere is also speculation. That's what I'm trying to point out. I think I was pretty clear. I think if you rewind,
it's like saying that buoyancy and density is caused by surface tension.
If you rewind the tape, you're going to find that I said could be caused by diffraction. Could be, right? I've been cautious.
You're misconstruing what diffraction is when you do that.
No, I'm not. No, I'm
you
not.
are. It is specifically defined.
Can I jump in real quick, guys?
You have to accept this idea that molecules are not physical, which is ridiculous.
Too many presuppositions you have no proof for.
Gentlemen.
No, you have no proof that what's your proof that it's refraction,
Arwen? Gentlemen, I have a request, please. If you
dismiss me, moron. Must have come up the conversation.
Hello.
Forget it. I won't even bother.
Hey, Jimbo.
Listen, I had a request.
Hold on, Jimbo, just 1 second. Just let Travis go. He's just been trying to get in for ages. Go on, Travis.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Thank you. You guys can dismiss me if you want. That's fine. I just have a request. I would be interested to hear Nummy reiterate Arwen's point and Arwen reiterate Nummy's point, so that and then not talk over each other. I'm not doing that so that you guys can be educated and corrected. I want clarification. So don't interrupt. Restate the other person's point, please.
All right. It seems like Arwen's saying that that molecules don't have surfaces because they're not physical objects. That once water evaporates into the air and becomes moles, individual molecules of water, that it ceases to be a physical phenomenon and just turns into some kind of magic non-physical thing and has no surfaces. And then when it condenses back into water, then it becomes a physical thing and has surfaces again. That's how I understand Arwen's argument. And that I need to prove that molecules have some sort of physical basis, right? In order to, otherwise I'm creating general relativity style total nonsensical invention. If I entertain the idea that molecules are physical in nature, I think that's what he's arguing, which seems to me to be
No.
completely beyond absurd, but okay.
Thanks for making that up out of nothing.
Really? I
Okay,
think that's
all right.
really,
Hold on. Let's go now. Arwen, now you try to address what Nummy was saying. What was Nummy saying? What was his point?
Nami was saying that perhaps the presumed bending of air or any kind of visual phenomena is caused by diffraction, speculating that diffraction could actually happen on a molecular level, even though there is no actual solid surfaces involved in that. And with solid surfaces, I mean solid enough to be observable.
Water
It is
droplets
a
in
specific
the air.
observation.
Jimbo, be quiet. Jimbo, please.
Because it is specifically observed surfaces that cause diffraction. That is
How do you
official.
know that?
Yeah, that is
Wait,
official. You even conceded
guys,
to
guys.
that.
That's official. So argument from authority. Well,
Yeah,
what if
It's
I
come-
coming
From the
undone.
one that
We're
actually
unraveling.
discovered
It's
it and
chaos.
find
I
it?
was hoping for clarification.
Now look at what? Okay, I can show you papers that describe a molecular diffraction of light. So officially, there is molecular diffraction of light, if that even matters. I mean, why would you argue it's official? You know how stupid that is? You're like, oh, there's no diffraction on molecules. It's official. Like that's your argument. It's official.
No, that's not what
That's
I said at
ridiculous.
all. I said it has to do with observable surfaces. Does
No,
it not?
Yeah, but you're claiming molecules don't have surfaces.
So it does. You just say, yeah, it does. Observable
No,
surfaces.
that is
Well, if you
I'm
can
criticizing
point
what
to
you
me to the observable
Argument
surface of a molecule, I'd be very interested to see it. Visually.
Yeah, well, I'm not claiming that this is. I'm not claiming
well,
that this is.
there
God.
you go.
Yeah, well, I made that clear from the beginning. But I'm not inventing general relativity either. The idea that molecules have a physical basis, i.e., have a surface.
You just conceded to all my criticisms that it is not possible because it's not involved. It's not related to the effect of diffraction. So thank you for that.
All right.
It is wild fantasy speculation. That is called science fiction. It's applying something that is part of physical reality and proven, and then speculating into unprovable territory. That's called science fiction speculation.
No, it isn't, because I'm saying that the idea that molecules have a surface is not such an unreasonable supposition to entertain. And then when we look at the actual evidence that we see that optical distortions are happening on the level of typically near a surface and very little in the air. Right. So what I'm saying is that the tiny amount,
So
very little.
Some? Well, what is the percentage?
That's caused
what is
by
the percentage? What's the percentage spectrum?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to bother. You know what, Arwen? I don't think you have any interest.
Oh, so
in
you don't have any actual data?
Yeah, I do, but you're not willing to listen to me, so I'm not going to
Yeah,
bother.
I am listening, and I'm feeding you back exactly what you're saying.
Prat. You're an obnoxious prat. Forget it.
Oh, Tom now. Okay. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I made my point. I think the intelligent...
Yeah, go play in your little castle. That's fine.
Can I say something on diffraction now?
Go ahead, Jimbo. Go ahead.
In the air, we know there are water droplets. Now, droplets are usually round and, undulating a little bit. Now, when light rays hit a water droplet in the air, you cannot predict which direction the light is going to go through them. It's omnidirectional. That causes a blurring effect. So I kind of think myself, when you see blur around buildings at a far distance through your camera, it's in part diffraction, not refraction. Refraction, when light hits a mirrored surface, it bounces off at an equal angle. If you shine a light directly at a mirror, it bounces right back to you. That's refraction. But diffraction,
Is that
you
not
use
reflection?
the light is refracted. It's a refractory process. It's
Right.
bounce. It's mirrored. It's refraction. Refraction
Well,
is mirroring, essentially.
You're echoing exactly what I'm saying. That's
Yeah,
exactly.
the water droplets are real, and how light hits them and scatters is not the same way as refractive. It's omnidirectional and causes blurring. And that's diffraction. Diffraction, like I don't know, like, again, it's a round surface. If you try to take an undulating round surface that's transparent and shine a light through it, you don't know where that light is going to bounce out or come out of.
Well, according to Snell's law, it's the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of refraction, right?
Yeah, all I know is that the water droplets, they you can't predict where light is going to come out. A crystal, you can. A prism, whatever. You can predict how the light's going to separate and, make a spectrum. But with the water droplet, you can't say it's going to be upper right, lower left, straight through.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do, but if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend, or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!